card ladder.
What's up, Kevin?
What's up?
How's it going, man?
Good.
Kevin is the president of PSA and is joining us tonight just to have a quick conversation about some of the recent things that have been going on. Kevin, welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. Well, Josh, where do we want to start, man?
Well, we talked a lot about the Marx card thing last week, so I don't think we need to go through all of it, Kevin. Maybe just kind of start wherever you want with this, and tell people like what's going on, what's the update on the PSA side, and just go for it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I would say everything I describe as in terms of what we want to do as PSA is hedged a bit by the bankruptcy process, meaning I don't anticipate much. The assets are the assets of the cards. And so, there's part of the assets of the collectors. So there's not really any claim in a bankruptcy towards those assets. However, the timing of it can be, rapid or slow based on the challenges within the filing. So I'll hedge everything by saying, we have to follow certain rules, as a creditor, and there's some things we have to abide by, but, I'll describe what our aim is to do. And basically our aim is to, finish the cards we have. So there's probably around 50,000 cards at PSA. About a quarter of them are already done. About 3/4 of them are not done. And so, we are going to just basically restart the process. So we're going to run the rest of the cards through, grade them, and then send them out to collectors. We have a very incomplete list of collectors, so we need people to email in and confirm, which cards are there, so we can cross-reference the sort of half-filled list with customer names, et cetera. We have customer names and orders. But what we're missing is email addresses and addresses and things like that. So we'll definitely need that information. So I do encourage everybody to email into the address, Jackie's address, to give that information. But we absolutely will grade those cards.
Wow. That is, we saw the statement, and the only part that was unclear. Well, it was first of all, obviously, the part that was exciting for everybody is they're going to get their cards back. But the only unclear part was what's going to happen with the raws. So you're saying you're going to grade them and still send them back? Yeah.
And I will say it took us some time to even figure out if we could send them back. There was a lot of kind of legal wrangling, and also just like we really wanted to have the customer list before we committed to doing anything, because without that, it's very difficult. You can imagine not everybody even has a record of the cards they sent in. So how do we decide where to send what? So, that we had to float a bunch of different processes, but, I talked to a bunch of people and tried to figure out what I thought would be best. Obviously it's a hit for us. We'll kind of eat some of this, but I think it's the right thing to do. I think, generally, it's not the collector's fault that, this happened. And so we don't want to punish the collectors by sending them back their raw cards. And, the prices were pretty different back then too. So we recognize that for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Did Marx end up providing a good list, or how did that go?
Yeah, they did. They sent a list to us that, like I said, it has, at the very least, it has an Instagram handle. And so we can see kind of who people are, but it's not like we need addresses. So we're going to have to, there's very few actual mailing addresses. So we'll need that information.
Have you been piecing it together with people that have, because you put in hey, you're telling everyone to email you, that's in the the post that you guys made. So have people been emailing, and have you been able to match those up with that list?
Yeah, for the most part, yes. I'm not the one doing that, but we haven't had any yet that we were just sort of, we're definitely being stringent about the process, right? Because we don't want people claiming other people's cards, or there's some checks and balances we'll ask for in terms of how the cards are yours, et cetera. But I think it'll work out. It's just going to take, I will say this too, it's definitely going to take time. There's just no way around that. It's a lot of cards, and we have to basically create individual accounts for everyone that doesn't have one. and then update the accounts, get them all mailed out. So, it's just going to take time. I hope everyone can be patient, but we'll get there.
Yeah, that's great, man. I just want to point out a couple of the comments in the chat. One quote is, "This is the greatest moment in customer service. I hope other companies are taking notes." A couple other ones coming in. "Well done. Always great, showing good faith." Just pretty cool, you guys. Great solution. I agree. I think that's leadership in a nutshell. Well done.
Yeah,
I'm sure it wasn't easy to come to that decision. I can imagine it wasn't.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot to weigh there for sure. I mean, a big part of it is we didn't really understand exactly what was happening at the beginning. We just kind of had some texts and a lot of wild information running around. So it was hard to know, what to believe. And there was a lot of different emails and things like that. But, generally, I had a pretty good sense of this. I will say there's some, this was not a sudden happening, but we kept them, kind of paying up front for the last 3 or 4 months in an attempt for them to help pay their. We didn't, ask them to pay up front and submit, and that worked out pretty well until it didn't. And so, I just wanted to clarify that we wouldn't, in this situation, we wouldn't typically extend payments. That's not something we're going to do. Yeah. And I would also mention, we do, as a result of this, we really have to change a bit of the way we operate in terms of group submitters, particularly the deposit. It's just, it makes everybody invested in the same way. And generally, I think collectors are fine with that. I mean, I think even most of the group submitters are fine with that as well. But it's just the only way to ensure, or at least better ensure, that this doesn't happen again.
So
there was a.
Oh, go ahead, Josh.
I wanted to ask one quick question and go back. There was someone who made a post earlier this week. I don't know if you saw it, Kevin, but basically they had their raw cards sent back to them. So is that outside the system you're describing, or how did that happen?
Yeah, that didn't come from us. Yeah, that didn't come from us. Yeah, if they're coming back raw, I don't know where they're coming from, but it's not from us. We haven't sent anything out. So
it's possible Marx still had some to be sent to you guys that he was holding.
It's possible, yeah. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, it's definitely possible.
Interesting. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so looking ahead to the future of group submitters, I've seen a couple questions come in, just kind of what's that going to look like? And you mentioned a deposit. Most collectors, like myself included, when we've gone through group submitters, we pay up front. So that it has been done that way for a while by some collectors. So is there going to be a partial payments up front, or is there going to be a pivot maybe towards a more direct-to-consumer model? What should we be expecting?
I would say we do have a pretty strong direct-to-consumer model, right? We've got the Collectors Club. We've got, the majority of our submissions come in directly. I think there was a big kind of swing to group submissions over the last few years. And there's a variety of reasons. The pricing was kind of moving around more than it is now. But for sure, we want to encourage people, if they feel comfortable to send cards in on their own, and that's kind of what's behind the Collectors Club. That's going to be the sort of pathway to the lower tiers. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really, we're not going to charge the entire amount up front. And the reason being that, then it's an issue of, well, I've already paid. So the turnaround time becomes trickier when you have the whole amount up front. So a 50% deposit, I think, is like the right balance where you're invested in it. And basically, I did see that blank slab, by the way, to answer that question. Yeah, we took it down. That allows them to be invested and we're invested. And so we share the risk there as opposed to just, floating for however long the cards are with us.
Nice. Now, you mentioned Collectors Club, and some people know about Collectors Club, and they've been participating in the submission events that have been happening over the last few weeks. But could you explain what Collectors Club is to those of us who might not know what it is?
Yeah, it's a membership that basically, I mean, and right now it's tier access, so it's the access to the lower tiers of submissions. So it's economy right now, but there's a lot of other services that we'll add in there. There's in addition to like swag and stuff like that, there's kind of advanced pricing tools that we'll make available through that. A whole bunch of additional features, kind of more digital centric features, and then obviously the discount rates. So it's sort of it's a limited offering right now, but over time we're basically going to add to it. It's kind of like Prime for card submissions.
Awesome. Okay, Josh, go ahead, bud, if you had something.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really have the president of PSA on without asking about the backlog or, the progress there. So I think everyone just wants to hear maybe just like your quick pitch on like how that's going and where you guys feel it's going in the next year.
Yeah, I mean, we're shooting to have it done by beginning of fall, and that basically means that we devote the majority of our effort to it. Right now we're like at maybe 90%, 10%. We want to be at closer to 80-20, and that allows us to take these submissions. We have to limit economy submissions as a result because we need to get through the backlog. So we have a pretty specific kind of strike plan and proportion that we hit to get the backlog done, and we get through that, call it September, October, and then, that's that. I think there'll always be a small backlog, right? For the cards that are taking 90 days. But, the general idea is to have that existing one through, like I said, September, October.
Yeah, so the goal is to introduce new levels and then always be continuously caught up. Yeah,
exactly. And I think it remains to be seen, what the low price is. I mean, we definitely are going to go lower than 50. It's a question of volume and demand, how low that price goes, but we're definitely coming down from where we are now for sure.
I mean, it was 150 recently, so now just to be at 50,
exactly, right?
It's pretty cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, Chris.
How are the submission events going on your end? Are you seeing the results that PSA wants to see? Is there anything that collectors should know about those submission events?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly wish we could service everybody. We usually have, 7,000, 8,000 members for 5 cards each join, and we can only do, 1,000, 2,000. So we are aware of it. We want to make sure that everyone that has a Collectors Club membership can get access to that. We're definitely looking at different ways to do that, while still being fair to everybody. But, we want to make sure that we don't also kind of recreate the backlog. So it's a balancing act, but I think that's the big one, is that we are aware that not everyone's getting submissions, and we're trying to figure out ways to kind of fairly allocate to the folks that feel like they've been shut out, because there are a few for sure that maybe bought a membership and didn't get to submit. So we're definitely going to take care of those folks.
Great. That's we threw a lot at you about the PSA stuff. So give you a more fun one. How do you feel just about the hobby in general? I know that you're fairly new to this new role, and you're kind of being given the water hose a little bit with all this drama. But how do you feel just about the hobby going forward, and are you having fun with it so far?
Yeah, I am. There's definitely challenges. It's an interesting, the brand is kind of incredible. I think when I started Gentleman, I sort of underestimated how powerful it is to have 50 million cards with their name on it out there. It's an extremely popular brand, which you don't necessarily always know as a collector, but I really understand that now. So there's just a lot of eyeballs on it, and when things like this happen, it gets a lot of attention. I would say, as far as the hobby goes, I think it'd be really interesting to see, you kind of had this coincidental COVID crypto bro card explosion thing going on, and which is great, right? There was all these new collectors and a lot of very investing centric collectors, and so part of me is really excited to see what that group wants, because for instance, the set registry is, right, in its current form, is really geared towards traditional collectors who are trying to build sets, right? But new collectors might be more concerned with the value of their collection, or high quality images or what have you. And so I think it'll be interesting to try and build tools for that group. I also hope that they don't totally wash out. I have a little bit of fear that the new group will sort of appear and disappear, and I hope that doesn't happen. I do feel like the hobby's fun. It's fun enough to stick around, but it remains to be seen. I think that's my big question: is do the folks that showed up in the last 2 years really stick around? I think I think the most of them probably will. There definitely be some washout, but that's something to watch. And then I think modern prices will probably reflect that movement more so than vintage.
Nice. All right, Ryan, I've got a completely fun question to pivot to. Who's your Super Bowl pick? Bengals or Rams?
I don't know, man. I picked. You shouldn't ask me, but I picked the Patriots to win it. It was like the least winning playoff team this year. Yeah, I had
When the
Mac
Cardinals.
Jones, Super Bowl
Might
MVP.
be Cardinals too, yeah.
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 All right.
I don't have a pick there. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, but you got to pick one, Kevin, before we let you go.
All right.
Burrow and the Bengals. You want the Cinderella? Or
I'll go with Joe Burrow. Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'm less excited about Stafford. So.
Fair.
Joey B.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we know you're on the East Coast, man, and we know that we really appreciate you coming on late and
Yeah, my
spend
pleasure.
some time with us. Do you, any last thoughts or anything you want to leave the audience with before we go ahead and let you go, buddy?
Yeah, I'll tell you. One person on the chat just said, "Ask Kevin to show us his Mac." So I will show you one. There's my last thought right there. That's the least.
Oh my God.
Pretty
What's the
cool.
story?
That
Is it
hard
Backlog?
drive up there is a 5 megabyte hard drive. Can you believe that? It's like
What's
a
the story? Is that-
shoebox,
is that-
and it sounds like an airplane.
Is that a collectible? What's the story?
Oh yeah, there's vintage computing is kind of niche because it's hard to ship them, but yeah, I collect quite a few. I've got everything from the Apple One up to like 2000. I've got a lot of Apple gear.
Wow. Does that actually work? Can you turn that thing on?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I can do it. I'll see if it's plugged in. Hold on. Give it a shot.
You'll start turning it on.
You're gonna
right
have
in
to
the
wait a
show.
while. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll let the screen light up. Let's see.
This is not what I expected to happen. If you would have gave me a million things to happen, I would not have put this on that list.
Kevin, people are joking. This
See
is your work.
see it booting?
There we go.
Uh-huh. Pretty cool. It's got the old clackety-clack keyboard.
Wow.
Yeah, that's called the Lisa. That's the computer that Jobs named his daughter after.
Oh, wow. That's great. So what year would that come out in?
I think that's 83, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even born.
Yeah. Pretty cool stuff. So I'll leave you guys with that. It's definitely past my bedtime. Thank you so much for having me on, and look forward to joining you guys again sometime.
Thanks,
Kevin.
Kevin.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
thanks. Bye.
Card Ladder, the best sports card app on the market. The future of sports cards is here. Card Ladder is the 21st century price guide and market analysis tool for sports cards. The best tools to help you track your cards. Watch the trends, stay informed, compare cards, and track the growth of your personal collection, all in one simple and intuitive platform. Join the innovators, not the imitators. The future is here. The future is now. Card Ladder.